It's time for the State of Star Wars Summer 2025 edition. So, welcome everybody to the Resistance broadcast. I'm John. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday or whenever you're listening to the podcast, wherever, however, or maybe you're watching on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. Check it out, youtube.com/@TRB podcasts. But also make sure you're subscribed to TRB on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your audio podcasts. It's free there as well. And we also have a Patreon, patreon.com/TRB podcasts. If you go there to support the podcast, first of all, thank you very much. We just did our first live Q&A open to all members of our Patreon. And that was a really, really good time last night. So hope you check that out. And if you haven't, it's on the page. But the point is, tiers start at $5 if you want to support the pod, but you can join for free. Check it out. Find out which tiers work for you. Because as you go up the tiers, there's more bonus content, live chats, streams, Discord servers, a lot of great stuff. And the one who handles all that for us is the great Lacey Gilleran. How are you, Lacey?
The Great. Well, that's a new title. I'm good. How are you?
We can edit that out. We can just give a little
Why?
speech.
Edit what out?
Well, because you don't like compliments, right? So.
Oh, no, I don't.
Right.
I don't like compliments.
Right.
I got a compliment today and I was like, it just made me, I was like, no.
Or you like compliments, but you get uncomfortable in how to handle getting the compliment.
Yes, I truly appreciate any compliment that is given to me. It means a lot to me because I know people mean it from a wonderful place of love and support and friendliness and kindness. It's just, I don't know how to handle that attention because I'd rather be the person that says something nice than, I don't know, receives the nice talking.
Yeah.
I'm awkward right now just thinking about it. Like, I just can't.
Well, one thing that we're never awkward about is Star Wars because we know it, we love it, we talk about it every week. I did all the plugs already, but we are going to get into the state of Star Wars. We have Resistance Report coming up. But Lacey, before we get into the main stories, I think you had sent this a little while ago to me, and you're like, oh, we got to talk about this. And I'm like, oh, absolutely. So we know Shawn Levy's got the new movie. It's starting production this fall, a few months. We're rolling on another Star Wars movie, and Ryan Gosling is starring, and it's called Starfighter, and it comes out in 2 years. But now we learned, what, Lacey? What Oscar winner was almost playing the baddie in this one?
So the rumor, is it a rumor or confirmed? I think it's a rumor. From
I think it's
Deadline.
stronger than rumor. It's like trade reported,
80%.
unconfirmed. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't want to say it's 100% because I don't know. But the somewhat confirmed rumor/leak info is that Mikey Madison, Oscar winner this past year, was up to play the villain in Starfighter and passed on it because of money. Which to me is like, I'm sorry, what? Disney has nothing but money. How is that possible? That was my initial reaction. Like, oh, did we just miss out on someone because Disney won't pay? But what do I know? Maybe she asked for a lot of money because she didn't want to do it, because that sometimes happens too.
Yeah, if this is true, it is a tell to me based on something we talked about last week when we did Will the Force with Spencer. And it was, will there be someone of equal star power cast alongside Ryan Gosling? Now,
I thought about that immediately, actually, and that's why I sent it to you. I was like, we just talked about this.
Yeah, so if Mikey Madison, and all due respect to her, she just won an Oscar, but if she leaves over a pay dispute or doesn't sign on over a pay dispute, I doubt they're going to get someone of higher star power than her. So I'm wondering if they're being budget conscious with this movie, even though it's a Shawn Levy movie. Like, I'm sure that we'll still see, known faces popping up in this thing, but that's where it steered me. I don't know about you.
It might be a politics thing where she wanted a certain amount of money because she's an Oscar winner, which is understandable. She's gotten to that level. And they said, well, you can't be making more than Ryan Gosling, who hasn't won an Oscar, right? He has not. He's been nominated, but not won. And it could be a political thing, like, we're not going to pay you more than Ryan Gosling, who's the head lead name in this movie. And so she was like, okay, I'm walking.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. Obviously, someone's going to be cast in this role, so now we're assuming we're getting that lead female villain that I've
That's
been
the
yearning
other
for.
thing you said. So that was the other
Yeah.
thing that why I sent it to you, because it was the thing we just talked about. And then also, you have been saying forever that the next villain should be a female villain. And I know you brought up specifically Sigourney Weaver. You were like, I would love to
I
see
got
her play a
close.
villain in Star Wars. So
Yeah.
when they said, oh, she turned down playing the villain, I'm immediately going, okay, so then it's going to be a female villain then.
Yeah, and anytime I've seen Mikey Madison, this is turning into just a longer story, and that's fine. Um,
I knew it was
anytime
going
I,
to, because there were so many elements to this that I was like,
I didn't realize it until we started unpacking it here. I was
yeah.
thinking, oh, quick thing, blah blah blah. Wait a minute, put that and then that.
That's why I was surprised when you were like,
Oh,
I'll just throw it in at the top. I'm like, all right, if you want to.
but anytime I've seen her play a villain,
Hold on.
Scream.
I'll just go for it. Hold on. Let's just go for it.
It's the resistance.
All right, we're just going right into resistance support, which is fine.
So, welcome.
I get uncomfortable when things are split from their segments, but
Oh, come
we're gonna
on.
do
I'm
that.
just making a
We're,
joke here. Enjoy.
we're gonna do that at the end of this segment into the state of Star Wars anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, so anytime I've seen Mikey Madison play a villain, so in the Scream 5 or 6, I think, and then in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's both performances were very psychotic, over the top, just crazy, and like bursts of mania, like both almost like the same, to the point where I was like, wait, she's up for an Oscar? I gotta watch this movie. And she gave a much different performance. But I say that because I've only seen her play a villain in 2 things. If she's going to be playing a villain in this, does that steer us in a direction of what they were looking for? Because, oh, I've seen her play a villain here. I've seen her play a villain here. We know she has the chops. We want that type of villain in Shawn Levy's mind. Let's bring her in for that. So are we getting a similar type of just psychotic bursts of manic energy, crazy killer villain
Like
in
a Kylo
Starfighter?
Ren.
Yeah, so
Mm.
it'll be interesting to see, because she certainly has an edge about her when she plays non-protagonists, and even when she does play protagonists. So they're clearly looking for an actor with that edge to them that can bring that level of just psychosis to a moment.
Yeah. I haven't seen Honora. It's on my list of things to see. It just hasn't happened yet because it's kind of a movie that I can't watch when my kids are around.
Mm,
Um, but I know that being online, a lot of the scenes and moments that I've seen clipped out of the movie are moments where she is going off on someone. It's like
yeah,
her yelling or carrying on or freaking out or doing what like it's never just her having this like solemn moment. So that plays into what you're saying is it seems like she really shines in those really like emotional, tense, like over the top scenes. So
yeah.
yeah, I guess I would agree with you that clearly this villain is either going to be someone that is well, it has to be someone that's like over the top at some point that freaks out or has a moment of rage. But I don't know how it's going to play into Starfighter because I don't think to me Starfighter sounds like Jedi versus Sith. It just sounds like fighter pilot. So it's like who is she really going to play unless she was going to play some type of general, or I
And
could see it
it's
being like an Avatar where they have like a certain tribe where she's the leader that then she's like going to war with them, something like that. So I
yeah,
just question what it is.
it's post Final Order, so there's no sort of empire around.
But there are
So
ones on planets though, like different armies
yeah,
and
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And Starfighter, like, he could still be a Jedi. I'm not saying he is, but like
You think
Anakin
he
was,
is? If you were to bet.
Um, when you think of an actor like Ryan Gosling, and like I even think about what they were talking about with John Boyega about, you're gonna have a lightsaber and you're gonna do this, and like really hyped him up for the role. Like something about a lightsaber, I think, pulls people into wanting to do Star Wars. So I wouldn't rule it out. I'm sure Shawn Levy doesn't want to make he's an OG Star Wars guy. I can't see him getting his shot to make his dream movie, a Star Wars movie, and not get a chance
Golden
to have
ticket.
lightsabers in it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's going to be lightsabers in it. It wouldn't surprise me if this dude had a lightsaber. Maybe he's not necessarily a Jedi. I don't know what Jedi are because it's taking place on that blank canvas. We don't know what's going on after, Rey, the last Jedi, and she has this academy apparently if it films that she's gonna do. So we'll see about that. But I think he could be because Anakin was, Obi-Wan called him the best star pilot in the galaxy. Like he was a starfighter in a way, and he was also the greatest Jedi. So I'm not ruling that out. But I always said a lead villain in Star Wars can't just be. I mean, Thrawn fans are going to get mad at me, but it can't just be one of the military people. Not in Star Wars. Like, they can be a big part of it. You need some level of fantastical elements around that lead villain in Star Wars for it to be big to me. And that's just me. But
Yeah. Do you think that Shawn Levy is going so OG that Ryan Gosling's character is something Starfighter? His last name is Starfighter?
that's
Because it was
tricky.
Luke Starkiller,
Right.
and then Luke
I
Skywalker, and then
that
Starfighter.
I feel like that's flying too close to the twin suns. Like, is, is that stepping on George Lucas's white sneakers a little too much? You know
It
what I mean?
isn't if he gives himself his own name. If like that's not his name, but he's like, yeah, just call me this, and everyone's like, I'm not calling you
Oh,
that.
I see. So he signs up for the Imperial Academy, and he's like, I don't have a family. And he's like, what are you? He's like, I'm a
A starfighter.
starfighter. He's like, Joe
Steve
Starfighter.
Starfighter.
Steve Starfighter. That works better. Steve Starfighter.
I 100% agree with you. I don't think Ryan Gosling would have taken this role if there wasn't a lightsaber involved at some point. And if he didn't get to hold one. Like,
Yeah.
Shawn Levy was like, "Man, you like Star Wars? What do you like about it?" He's like, "Oh, I don't want to be a Jedi." He's like, "What if I let you be a Jedi?" Like,
And
there
what
has
if
to be some
he
enticing piece.
and what if he's a descendant? What if he's a Ken Obi?
You think he's a Kenobi? I
No,
don't know about
I
that,
made that
man.
joke. I made that joke on Twitter a while back, and it was a good hit. So I just wanted to use it on the pod.
Oh, because of Barbie and Ken. I get it now. I was a little slow on that one.
There it is. All right, let us move on to our next story, which is Tony Gilroy. He's sort of in this celebration mode. The filter's off. The governor is off the sports car. He can say all the key words that he wasn't allowed to say before, like fascism, which he revealed. He's like, oh, the show's out now. I guess I'm allowed to say it. Fascism. Uh, but also talking about the budget and being more of that candid Tony Gilroy that spoke about his work on Rogue One that many years ago. And Lacey, he revealed that yes, the budget for the 2 seasons of Andor was upwards of $650 million. But also interesting quotes about how he had to push them, but also test them. And one of the bigger pulls from this was that a Disney exec told him that streaming is dead. So that is interesting, but also not surprising based on the trend of what Star Wars is doing in the years to come, which we'll get to in the State of Star Wars. But what'd you make of the latest juicy, honest statements from Tony Gilroy and the budget of Andor?
So I love how Tony has been so honest about everything. We've talked about that every week the past 3 weeks, I feel. He's just truly a wonderful, not just Star Wars creator, but, you know, producer, writer, director, whatever you box he's in. He's just a very creative guy, and I love how honest he is. Um, and no matter what interview he sits down to, even if he gives the same answers, because we all know that they ask the same questions in every interview, he's always willing to give a little bit more to give people unique
Mm.
answers, which I appreciate. I don't feel like every time I read an email, oh my God, I wish he was emailing me. Email me, Tony. Any interview from him, I don't feel like I'm reading the same answers over and over again because he just gives more or he gives a different detail. He's very media trained and I love it. Also, I just think he's awesome. That being said, $650 million, not surprised. We said from the moment we saw teasers, trailers, glimpses, episode 1 of Andor season 2, the sets, the production, just the overall cinematic appeal of this season, I think Kathleen Kennedy was like, do what you got to do. I'm leaving. Enjoy yourself. Here's a check. Like, enjoy. And she let him really make the story what he wanted it to be. And I think that the costumes and production and overall look and feel of real life locations only add to the story. Like, it made it more, I feel, important than just, hey, we shot this in a room with a cool camera that moves around. And that's not to downplay visual effects, because we're big visual effects people here. We love light and magic and we love ILM. But it's just different when you're in a physical location. And there's something really cool as a Star Wars fan when they shoot in these locations. And even if it's not today, you could go to those locations, and people do it all the time. And it's one of the coolest things to see on social media is when someone takes a screenshot from the show and like holds it up to wherever they are. There's something really fun about that. And yeah, it's not surprising. At the same time,
Yeah.
I would love just like, like $1 million, like $5, $10, $100, like Disney, throw me some money. The streaming is dead comment is weird to me because I don't agree with that. I agree that people are being strategic and smart about where they're subscribing and where they're watching materials. And I'm a strong believer, as you are, John, in physical media. And I can't wait to buy these things on disc so that I have them forever. But streaming, I feel, couldn't be further from dead. I mean, Martin Scorsese was just saying today that he never goes to the movies anymore because people are talking, they're on their phones, they interrupt the whole experience of the movie theater. Why would he pay to go to the movies to have that? And I couldn't agree more. There are so many things that I've been able to enjoy, including Andor season 2, in the privacy of my own home where I can really sit with it and enjoy it and be in the quiet, dark, big couch of mine, just kind of taking in this galaxy far, far away, that I feel, unless it's a movie, you're not getting, you don't necessarily need the crowd experience. And even then, I guess this is a question for you, John. I've been in a couple of the rooms, but like the Obi-Wan Kenobi premiere, do you think that those episodes were better that you watched them with a crowd? Or do you think that it didn't really change your experience?
It's hard to say because it wasn't a normal crowd. It was a crowd of Star Wars fans at Star Wars Celebration in
Yeah.
overhype mode.
Yeah.
So there were abnormal cheers, gasps, and stuff that I don't even think you would see in a movie theater with
Just over the top.
normal
Mhm.
fans. Yeah. So, and also like we had standing room. Me and James were all the way in the back, and we were just sort of like standing against the wall. It was an interesting experience, but I don't know if it's. I get what you're saying, and I do think Star Wars with a crowd is better. Because I think Star Wars.
Movies or all together? TV and movies?
Well, say like when we went to the screening of Andor, like I thought people were so quiet there because of the environment we were in at Lucasfilm, and I felt more like I was in a movie theater watching it. Whereas at the Obi-Wan Kenobi debut at Celebration, I felt like I was at like almost like a rock concert.
Mm.
So it's hard to say. But also Scorsese's points, people having their phones, like it crossed my mind when I had because I read that story too. I was like, I wonder if there's ever going to be a theater that has the guts enough to like make people seal their phones like they do at movie premieres.
Where Alamo Drafthouse definitely has a very strong cell phone policy that, like, if you get caught on your cell phone, they'll kick you out.
I remember that. I went in San Francisco on my honeymoon, and I think I remember hearing that, and I went to see The Last Jedi actually again, and I remember, like, I don't want to get kicked out of anywhere. I'm eating dinner there and stuff, and I remember just, like, shutting my phone off, putting it in my pocket, just, like, don't need it. It's interesting.
Do you think streaming is dead? I guess, and then work your way back to the beginning of
Yeah. Well, I don't think streaming is dead. I think Disney definitely is at a crossroads right now because I mean, and Andor did pretty well though. We have to talk about that. Like it charted and it did better as it was going. So the momentum of the reception to it from people who watched it led more people to watch it, and that's a good sign. And it deserved it. That show did get better as it went on. So, the people who watched 7 through 9 and then 10 through 12, like they saw the best, and it absolutely was the best. So that was
And
cool
it's
to
not
see.
just the best Star Wars, it's amazing television.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people could check into Andor, and if they want to continue, they can. Otherwise, they just saw a really compelling story about this guy who becomes a hero. So I agree with that. But I think it is interesting because most of the Star Wars stuff on Disney Plus doesn't stack up to other streaming services shows, and that's hard to see as a Star Wars fan because I like Star Wars sort of being that thing that doesn't purposely try to push its weight around, but pushes its weight around because of its size. And then I think about what are the returns on these shows? Like, what does Andor bring in monetarily? Not much. Was there a giant subscriber uptick? I mean, the amount that would have to is pretty crazy. And then I think about the quality element of it. We just, like you just talked about, Andor was there. It had that quality, and that's why it cost that much. But everyone, if they're being honest with themselves, is dreaming about that Obi-Wan movie with a theatrical budget being on the big screen, as they had originally were trying to do it. And it's like, I think about Ahsoka and I'm like, it's good, but then after watching Andor, it's like, it still feels like it's a tick below because of the budget and stuff. And you just start thinking about Star Wars really is best when it's in theaters and on the big screen and telling
So you're
those
saying Andor is an exception because of the amount of money they
because
spend
of the
cinematic.
budget they put towards it. Yeah, that's the thing, and they're not going to keep doing budgets like that. Certainly not going forward. So it's going to come back down, and like Mando can pull it off because it's Favreau, but it gets tricky, and you get stuff like Obi-Wan, and it doesn't make the grade in terms of how I see Star Wars. I mean, in terms of its state of the art, like I am completely in disbelief of what I'm watching, and I'm transported to this galaxy far, far away. Whereas in Obi-Wan, sometimes I was like, it feels really small. It feels really claustrophobic.
Felt like
It
they were in
feels
a
like,
room.
yeah, yeah. And I still enjoyed it. I still gave this final episode a 10. There's nuance to all this stuff. But to round it out, with Tony Gilroy and his statements on it, I like that he said they had to push Disney, but that they did have creative freedom because he would be honest about that if he didn't. So that is a very good thing to see that they were given liberty, even knowing, the numbers of season 1. They're like, no, you have creative freedom for season 2. They could have stepped in and said, no, you need to put C-3PO in here. You need to put Darth Vader in. And kudos to Disney for letting them do. And I'm sorry for saying kudos. Credit to Disney for letting Tony Gilroy and Kathleen Kennedy do what they wanted to do. And I think hopefully Disney sees that letting the creators have the control ultimately leads to long-term success for a series like Andor, because this series is going to age like wine, just so well.
I do have to point out, though, that there are other instances where Lucasfilm has given creative control to people and it hasn't panned out well. So that's why Disney is kind of hesitant when you look at something like The Acolyte. Didn't pan out the way they wanted to, and
Big budget.
Didn't they also spend
like 300
about
million.
this?
Yeah.
No, like half of it.
Which is what you wonder where the money went on Acolyte. It's crazy. But
which it was what? How many episodes? 9 episodes? I can't remember.
8?
9? 8? So it was almost as many episodes as Andor. They did it for half of the price of Andor, but it didn't have the reception that Andor is having. And it didn't have, I guess, the reputation of Andor, I would say, because Tony Gilroy comes with a very highly beloved reputation of like standard of he came in and saved the day with Rogue One, and then Andor season 1 was a critically acclaimed season.
Yeah, and I think was Acolyte filming during like the pandemic? That could be part of it.
It was. It definitely was. They were wearing masks and stuff in the back. I'm just comparing it because you had said, oh, they let them have creative freedom. And I could see people arguing, well, what about The Acolyte, which also got creative freedom? And I know we're at a year anniversary of that show, and there are tons of things that you and I thoroughly enjoyed about The Acolyte.
We had a
We
lot of
loved Lee
fun
Jung
playing the
Jae.
guessing game. Yeah.
We loved the mystery that ended up not being a mystery. And the actual lightsaber battles were intense.
Oh yeah, that one
With
episode
the
in the
stranger. Oh my
forest was
episode
great.
5
The
was
night.
so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't know. It's just interesting. I guess it's when kind of playing off what you were saying, which I totally agree with, is when you have all the puzzle pieces that kind of like fit together with budget and locations and actors and creative team and corporate stuff. It's nice when it all works out.
Yeah.
As a Star Wars fan.
And I agree. And the number is not surprising. I know it was rumored a while back of how much this stuff cost for Andor. I think originally they were like, oh, it's $250 a season, but it's $650. I mean, you think about it, it's like 20 hours of high quality live action television.
And think of the stuff
in a
they
galaxy
probably
far,
cut.
far away. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I didn't even blink when I saw that number. And it's like, maybe that's because the Mets paid the budget of Andor plus 150 million for Juan Soto. Maybe that's what it is, but I don't know.
Was it worth
But we
not for this,
yeah,
for Juan Soto.
to be determined. We have a couple other stories to get into here. One will lead right into the state of Star Wars, and then we put out a call for some of your thoughts about the state of Star Wars, which we'll get into later. But
I love that.
This
I
one
love
here,
that
Lacey,
we hear from other people.
Yes, absolutely. This one here, Lacey, is a bit of a reminder from Mark Hamill. I believe he said this already, but on another run of red carpets here, Mark Hamill's still very active. He was in what was the movie you watched on the plane? The something robot?
He was in The Wild Robot. He plays the
Wild
bear,
robot. Yeah.
which I didn't realize until the credits. I was like, oh, he does a very
Yeah,
good job masking his voice in that movie.
Yeah, and
Not like
he's a
Win the War, which sounds
Oh, I
just
know.
like him.
Bulio. Yeah, so he's still very active, still on the circuit, still getting interviewed, and every time he gets interviewed, Star Wars will always come up, especially for Luke Skywalker. And he sort of just reiterated the fact that he is done as Luke Skywalker. He thinks they should really take on the new characters and tell new stories, and it's time for him to hang up the cape. Now, not surprising to me, Lacey. What'd you make of his comments and any of the other quotes out of this? But it feels like it's something he's sort of alluded to before, save the stuff he sort of did with The Mandalorian.
Do you want me to read his quote really quick for those people that haven't heard the
Sure.
quote? Yeah. So Mark said, "I'm so grateful to George for letting me be a part of that back in the day, the humble days when George called Star Wars the most expensive, low budget movie ever made. We never expected it to become a permanent franchise and part of pop culture like that. But my deal is I had my time. I'm appreciative of that, but I really think they should focus on the future and all the new characters." And in true Mark Hamill fashion, he goes on to end with a joke, which he always does, which is, and by the way, when I disappeared in The Last Jedi, I left my robes behind, and there's no way I'm going to appear as a naked Force ghost. Spoiler alert, he does show up in The Rise of Skywalker, and he is not naked.
I know. I was gonna say, did he forget? Did Mark Hamill pull a Gwyneth Paltrow and forget that he was in episode 9?
Oh my God, Gwyneth Paltrow. Am I in that? I think he was just making a joke.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I adore Mark Hamill. I don't agree with him on every stance he has about everything. I'm going to start there because I think he says a lot of things that, not about Star Wars. I'm just saying in general that I don't necessarily agree with. However, he is the kindest person. And when I met him multiple times, he was so giving with his time. He's so good with Star Wars fans of all ages. He loves Star Wars. It's a part of who he is. That being said, I think we all know, especially us diehards, that not just from his own interviews and his press conference stuff, but from the director in the Jedi documentary, that he did not have a good time on The Last Jedi. I think just like we all collectively as Star Wars fans had expectations, I think Mark Hamill had expectations of how Luke Skywalker, the hero of our childhood, was going to return. I mean, he openly has said that he thought at the end of The Force Awakens, when the lightsaber goes flying, he was the one that was going to catch it when he was reading the script. I don't think he agrees with the way the character ended, which is understandable. He's allowed to feel that way, even if you don't agree with it. So I'm not surprised that he's like, yeah, I'm not interested. I think there's also been some tension between him and Disney, and that's why you haven't seen him at past celebrations. They haven't tried to bring him out, which to me is heartbreaking as a Star Wars fan, because the past few celebrations, I'm like, this is the show. I'm going to get a picture with him. I'm doing it. And he hasn't been there. So I'm hoping he'll be there on the 50th. Fingers crossed. He's my number one that I want to see there. Outside of George, of course. But I'm not surprised. He's like, look, he's basically saying without saying it, like, stop asking me Star Wars questions about like coming back. Like, I'm good. I'm all right. I've moved on. I think he's just kind of closed that part of his life. Now, to be said, if they came back to him and were like, hey, here's a boatload of money, would you do this thing for us? I'm sure he would. But I feel like right now he's moved on from Luke Skywalker in what I view as a graceful way, because he did the Mandalorian stuff. Like, he sat in for that. He consulted on that. He got to see Luke in his heyday, which is what he always wanted to see. So am I surprised by this? No. I wish him the best of luck in whatever he's doing, and every movie that he's in, he is good. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be all right. What do you think?
I think he will too. I think I don't know, like, Luke Skywalker doesn't have to come back. Like,
No.
his story is told, and I'm not surprised about this at all either. Yeah. So I don't have really much to add on that, other than, it's still a little sad when you think about it,
Oh,
because
yeah.
and like, when you've only known something to exist your whole life, which, I was born in 82, so Star Wars was already out. This guy was already Luke Skywalker. Once I got into Star Wars, it's like, this guy's Luke Skywalker. And now that it's definitely over, it's a little tough to process, but
100%.
he's still doing his thing, and he'll always be Luke Skywalker, like Carrie Fisher said.
And I like him doing the Lego stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Did you see that quote? I think I retweeted it from TRB. But it was Carrie Fisher, like, calling out Mark Hamill back in the day because he went and started doing Broadway after Star Wars. Here it is. So, basically what he did in his playbill, he didn't put Star Wars, even though it was after Star Wars, because he wanted some theater recognition, not be known as like a popcorn guy. So he said, Carrie came to see me see a Broadway show of mine, and in the playbill in my bio, I listed all my theater credits, and at the end it said, he's also known for a series of popular space movies. And she goes, what's the deal? How come you don't mention Star Wars? And I said, well, I want to show that I have a resume that includes extensive theater credits. And she said, hey, get over yourself. You're Luke Skywalker. I'm Princess Leia. Embrace it. I thought that was just amazing. Variety had put that out.
Every time I hear stories about her, they're always like that. And it inspires me each time to lead with honesty and transparency and just, like, be yourself. Every time I hear a Carrie quote. Speaking of Carrie,
no BS.
Yeah,
always.
I love that. And I, for the rest of this year, 2025, I am striving to be more Carrie Fisher than I have ever been. Be more straightforward and blunt and transparent in a funny, comical way. Not mean. That being said, there was another piece of this, because Mark's doing the rounds for this new movie he's in, where they also asked him a Star Wars question. I forget what, I think it was like Collider or something. He had said to them, basically, they'd asked about Star Wars and, like, would he come back? Same question. And he said, well, Harrison signed on first. Then Carrie signed on. And so then I was like, man, I guess I have to sign on. So like even in the beginning, he was hesitant. So it just kind of backed up what he's saying here. Like he's been straightforward the whole time about this whole process.
I
But
don't
yeah,
buy that quote, but
that's fine.
yeah.
I'm just saying it backs up what he's saying here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking back to like 2012 and
Are you
like
talking about the trash can where he's smoking cigarettes? Because you always bring this up.
Yeah,
I had a bad day. You always bring it up.
I'm just saying, and I wasn't gonna bring that up, but you brought it up. I think people forget sort of where, and he's the greatest, but where Mark Hamill was at from a career perspective in like 2012. Like the
Sure.
dude was coming back. Come on. But he's like, oh, Harrison said he'd do it. Okay, it's like, all right. Oh yeah. All right. Let us, for the sake of time, and this story really does apply to the state of Star Wars in a big way, if it's true. Let's
Sure.
just fire up the discussion.
Obi-Wan once thought as you do.
All right, it is the state of Star Wars every season. I think we may have skipped spring because we went to Japan. It was just
Did we skip spring? We might have done it right before, no?
I don't know that we did. I looked for it. I
Sorry,
didn't find it,
go.
but it is summer. Not technically, but
I mean, this
it
could be spring. Then we do summer at the end of August.
It's our sprummer state of Star Wars, where every seasons we like to take the time we have on the podcast to have an open discussion about the state of the franchise. So now it's time for our summer 25 edition sprummer, whatever you want to call it. To me, kids are getting out of school. It was hot as all hell today. It's summer.
It's spring, summer.
Yeah. After Memorial Day is summer, if we're being honest.
Sure,
I don't care what the
sure.
calendar says.
All
But it's time for the state of Star Wars. And, the first thing to kick it off came out shortly before we started recording. And this is via The Hollywood Reporter. And Lacey, this has been rumored as, possibilities, but it seems like, according to them, and I think others have since, picked it up and ran with it, but Carrie, Beck, and Dave Filoni are favorites to co-lead Lucasfilm after Kathleen Kennedy exits. And as we know, Kathleen Kennedy is staying on, not as president, but she will be producing some of the upcoming movies. So going back to, what she's been mostly known for. So she's going to help on that front. But Carrie, Beck, and Dave Filoni are favorites to co-lead Lucasfilm. Now, this isn't confirmed, obviously, so we can only take this as a rumor. The trades are usually pretty good. Sometimes they miss, and sometimes with stuff like this, especially like the Kathleen Kennedy leaving reporting has just gotten out of hand. It's like people can't grasp what she said, and I don't understand
She's leaving in
why.
5 minutes. Just kidding. She was getting a sandwich. She is back in the office.
Right. Yeah. Kathleen Kennedy out in August. And she's like, no, I'm leaving. But she's like trying to push her way back in the office, and the print media or entertainment media is just shoving her out.
I know.
But Carrie, so Lacey, let's kick things off with the state of Star Wars by talking about this. Now, it's just a rumor, so we shouldn't spend too much time on it. But if it's true, what does this tell you about the direction Lucasfilm is heading? What do you think about this? If it is let's talk about it as though this is going to be the pick, so we don't keep saying if it's true.
I'm gonna Uno reverse it back to you because I've been doing going first.
You want me to go first? Okay.
Yes.
So my initial thoughts are that Disney is really does let Lucas operate autonomously and make their decisions and do everything that they do from a hierarchy standpoint. And maybe that was baked into the language when George sold it, like things that are musts but without breach of contract or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer or an entertainment lawyer for that stretch. But they either have full autonomy or Disney is really happy with what's going on with Star Wars now, because this feels more like not a change. We need a new voice. This feels like handing baton to next generation that I helped groom as my replacements. So to me, that says if you like how Star Wars is going right now, you should be happy because it's likely steering in a similar direction. And then from the other standpoint, slight, not nervousness, but Carrie Beck and Dave Filoni have exclusively really only done TV to this point, not movies. And Star Wars is steering back towards movies away from TV. So it's just an interesting timing for that to happen. Now, I have full faith in everything. I'm not like that nervous about it, but it's interesting that they didn't like Disney. My thought, and we had talked about this a while ago, my thought was Disney was going to swoop in and come in with an executive who has a proven resume from the outside, and then have Filoni be like the creative head and like be
Yeah, we
that
had
way.
talked about that. Mhm.
But it looks like if this is accurate, like I'm saying, this is promotion from within and passing of the baton. So it is interesting, and I do think the Dave Filoni pick is sort of a no-brainer because it seems like even though there's some people who get annoyed with Filoni, he still has so much capital with the fans and so much good faith with the fans, not only for what he's made, but also his understanding of the franchise and his understanding of and his connection to George Lucas. So I think that part's not surprising. The Carrie Beck one maybe a little surprising, but she's been there for 13 years now and working right under Kathleen Kennedy. So if anybody would be prepared to grab the reins and run with it, it'd be Carrie Beck.
Yeah, I think the Carrie Beck one is surprising to me just because if you're going to head up Lucasfilm, you'd think it would be people that are pretty either top level executives or well known names specifically. Because if you look at Disney's portfolio in general, a lot of people know who those top people are: Kathleen Kennedy, Kevin Feige, obviously Bob Iger. I think Dave Filoni is a straightforward thing, which I believe we've been talking about at least for 5 years now. Dave Filoni taking over. Every time there's a Kathleen Kennedy rumor, which seemingly has been since 2020 or before,
Probably sooner.
basically, yeah, after Rise of Skywalker, would she leave after that has been, I think we had a John Roca episode back in 2019, 2018 about it. And a lot of us were saying, well, Dave seems like the obvious choice. And here we are, 5 years later, still talking about it. It makes sense. Like you said, he's coming from his mentorship, closeness to George. He still talks to George on a regular basis. He's steering stories in a way that connects them to the overall lore and canon of what Lucasfilm holds dear compared to, I think, most studios, even Disney cares about. I think he has a certain creative vision that other people don't have, that he has carried with him through The Mandalorian, through all the animation projects. Obviously, I'm just speaking live action forward with Ahsoka. And fans love him. He's a guy that if you're a Star Wars fan, you know who Dave Filoni is. So it's reasonable that when Kathleen, I was going to say she, but Kathleen Kennedy steps down, he would step up because fans would cheer, most of them anyway. As for Carrie Beck, it's not surprising that they would pick someone internally that gets along with Dave very well. I wouldn't even be surprised if Dave Filoni suggested her. I think she's more on the business side of things, which Dave probably doesn't have time for. He's kind of overseeing the creative vision and like where the stories are going. And I think that's where he thrives, and where if I was a Disney executive, I'd be like, yeah, that's clearly what Dave's here for. But we've talked about in the past how we didn't think that Dave necessarily had the business side of things locked down. Like, he doesn't seem like the businessy guy that's like looking at budgets and producing in that way. It's more of an overseeing, like, hey, where's this story going? What characters can we throw in here? And that's obviously downplaying what he does. That's not my intention. I'm just saying I don't think he's sitting in accounting meetings, which is something that I would assume a Carrie Beck or someone that was to tag team it would be doing. It is a little concerning that they're doing two people, only because I think things tend to get a little messy when there isn't one person at the top calling the shots. Like when you have two people kind of co-leading something, it can get messy or problematic. But I might be totally wrong here. I just am always like, hey, just make it be one person, clean, straightforward. They're at the top of the pyramid. But I couldn't think of anybody that should step in instead of them. Like, because I don't even know who would be interested to touch Lucasfilm or Star Wars at this point. We've talked about it numerous times about how many people have been like, yeah, I'm going to walk away from Star Wars, or yeah, I'm not really interested in that. Even who we were just speaking about, Tony Gilroy, has been asked time and time again, would you take over for Kathleen? Would you step up? Would you do more of this, more of that? And he's like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because there's just stuff we don't know as Star Wars fans, as podcasters, as content creators. We don't know the ins and outs of these productions and the challenges that they face every day. And I think that every conversation like this has to have some type of nuance of like, we don't know the full picture. But I'm just surprised they're going with the co-lead.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I think is a fair, I don't want to be all just worried here, but just get the
Get it out of the way
concerns
so we can get to the excitement.
the concerns out of the way is like with Dave Filoni, it's like most of the stuff he's done has involved Ahsoka, save The Mandalorian, that's Jon Favreau's project. He does make a lot of Star Wars very for like the lore core, like the people who really love the lore, people who really love the Easter eggs and stuff. And I think that might even be alluded to in the Hollywood Reporter's article. Like, will he be able to expand and grab casual fans like my brother who would like to just go watch a good Star Wars movie without needing to know, who made the Darksaber or something?
As a Star Wars fan, sometimes I just want to watch something and not have to know every single in and out and feel like a bad fan if I don't know every detail.
And again, that's me just saying that, but I mean, if they both are picked, I have really no concerns. I feel comfortable with it. It's surprising because I was always feeling like there was this sort of rumbling about, a change in direction. But if those are the picks, it's not really a change in direction unless they hit us with a curveball and all of a sudden they come out of nowhere with a whole different slate and approach, because that would be cool too. But either way, in my opinion, as we shift to other things, the state of Star Wars is very good right now. I loved the experience of Star Wars Celebration Japan. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, we did a full recap episode on our experience in Japan. It's really sort of like pulling you in and taking you along the ride with us. So check that episode out. But also, we're at back-to-back really good Star Wars series on Disney Plus, and it's funny because we were just talking about that executive saying streaming's dead, and Star Wars is shifting to movies, and it's like they have one left, and it's Ahsoka, and it's filming right now, which is also good that there is Star Wars filming right now. Shawn Levy's also filming his movie later this year, but Skeleton Crew and Andor, for us anyway, I think a lot of fans, 2 back-to-back really good Star Wars shows, and I'm just trying to think if they had a back-to-back like that where both were received really well by most fans. So from their output of recent stuff, plus what's coming with The Mandalorian, I'm feeling really good about Star Wars, and that's just scratching the surface. Like, I'm also really excited about that Maul series that's coming out next year. I'm definitely going to watch that. I'm intrigued to see what they do with that character in between those time periods that we've seen him. So right now, I am feeling very positive about the state of Star Wars. How about you?
I'm feeling good about it. I think I'm feeling better about it than I did probably 6 months ago. I think we did this right before heading into Skeleton Crew, and we were kind of unsure because those first initial reactions or rumored reactions were, oh, everybody hates this show. No one's really digging it, blah, blah,
It
blah.
was coming off The Acolyte. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved Skeleton Crew. I loved it so much. Like, I can't wait to go back and rewatch it. I just haven't had time, but I'm going to go back. It was everything that I love about Star Wars: creatures, fun, fantastical journeys, coming of age, children, families, like just a fun show. And I was surprised by Andor season 2, because season 1 wasn't my favorite. I have been honest about that I was like, it's a little too serious for me. I don't know if I like it. It's a little too much of the war in Star Wars. I loved season 2. It was amazing. Over the top, cinematic, relevant to current historical issues in the world. A real big mirror moment, like holding up the mirror to us. But within the landscape of Star Wars, and I think George Lucas would love it. And now I'm someone that usually hates when people say that, but I really think George Lucas would like Andor, based on his own comments about the original Star Wars trilogy and the prequels too. But I like what they did with Light and Magic season 2. It was incredible. Cried, thought it was amazing. I am feeling good about it. I think my sadness with Star Wars right now is that there seems to be nothing going on in the near future. There's a couple things here and there, but we're waiting basically a year for something to come for the Mandalorian and Grogu. And I mean, we've been very spoiled that we haven't had to wait that long. So I'm a little worried that I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my time?
Well, it's like I'm realizing 2026 is going to be like a monster year because you have Mando and Grogu, you have the Maul series, you have
Yes.
Ahsoka probably.
Yeah. Season 2.
So you have
probably
Ahsoka
in the fall.
And then right around the corner from that is Celebration and another Star Wars movie, Starfighter. So this year,
50th.
this year is going to be quiet, but this is sort of the year, like those years building up to the Star Wars movie you're excited about. So I remember like when I started podcasting, it was about The Last Jedi and the build up to that. And then it was, The Rise of Skywalker and Solo and all that stuff. And that's when I have fun podcasting, is because you hear little nuggets and you're like, I heard they're filming over here and I heard this is going on. This character might be in it. And I love doing that, detective work without spoiling
No, that's a
anything
great
for
point.
myself for the movie.
No. That's an awesome point. And I often say one of the best times to be a Star Wars fan was coming off TFA and then Rogue One and then going into The Last Jedi.
Build-ups, yeah.
And I wasn't even podcasting then. It was just such a fun time to be a Star Wars fan and just hypotheticals, making up your own headcanon, that kind of thing. I love that. And yes, there's going to be a lot of that going in the next year. I don't know. I feel like it's just one of those things that we've been running for so long that now that there's nothing, I feel like Ricky Bobby, where like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, I don't.
It's so funny you say that because I felt that way too. Yesterday, I was walking around my kitchen and like the kids were just like playing on their own and stuff. And Kathleen walks in and she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, you know what's funny? I'm like, I keep having this feeling like I have something big coming up and I don't at all. Like I think it's because I just traveled to Japan. I just traveled to San Francisco. And it's like, I haven't shut off that part that I need to keep going somewhere. And it's like, then it hits you like, no, you don't have anything on the horizon yet. You can bury the suitcase. And it's like, it's still sort of there. So I think if that's what you mean, that's what I've been feeling.
That and also, I guess taking moment this summer, especially as a Star Wars fan, to reflect on what we've gotten so far. So I'm interested to have this conversation, 3-4 months from now when we do like the state of Star Wars in fall, where I'm at. Because I just think that we've done so much with this podcast in just 5 years that it's like we're in this weird lull, but it's not really a lull. It's still going to be build up and there's still going to be news and probably developments and announcements, etc. But it's just coming off of such a crazy month that I'm just like, kind of like, what just happened? Like,
for sure.
You just hit turbulence and you landed in the plane. And you're just like, okay, so I should get my bag and leave then, I guess. Because like, but other than that, like, I'm really, really excited of where Star Wars is going. I am excited that there's movies coming. You and I are big movie people. I'm excited to go to the movies again. I'm excited to sit and have my popcorn and stuff my face in the first 5 minutes and then realize I ate my whole popcorn. And just cheer at the screen with other Star Wars fans. I know I said before streaming is not dead, but when it comes to movies, I'm all about the movie theater. That being said, I know the books for the High Republic are winding down. So I'm hoping that now that they're winding down, maybe I can start back at the beginning and not feel the pressure of like, go with the High Republic. I like really just kind of take my time with it.
Are you really? You're going to do that? I
think I'm going to try. I think I'm going to try. I'm going to try to get into it. And then I'm interested to see what other kind of merchandise is coming out for Star Wars. I did go back. So one of my biggest regrets from Japan, there's a couple. One of my biggest regrets in Japan is I got in the line for Hot Toys, and John knows this because he was like, "I'll go over here and I'll meet you over here." And then the line was crazy, so I got out of line. My biggest regret was getting out of line. I just should have stayed in the line because I really wanted one of those like little Ewok keychain things,
Oh
the
yeah.
Cosbys. I pulled the trigger and got one off eBay, and I'm excited for it to get here from Japan.
How much did you spend?
So at the show, from my understanding from our listeners who had them, Kyle Baker, shout out to him, who had one and it was adorable. And he was like, just go wait in line. And I was like, okay, maybe I will. And I got in line, and then I panicked. I had a panic moment. I'm gonna admit it. Like I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And their line is like it was very Disney, where you get in the booth and then it's like, surprise, you're in a line. Like they trick
Yeah.
you. It was like
Yeah.
that cute. So I panicked. I was like, oh my God, John's outside. I don't want to leave people. You get that panic. Like I don't want to make people wait. Anyway, I pulled the trigger and went back and forth on which ones to get. I got original Wicket because that's the one I grew up with. Went with that one. It was $25 in Japan. I paid, I think, $40 on eBay.
Oh. All right.
So not that bad. I
You
would
were
assume
building that up like you were spending hundreds of dollars on this thing.
No, but I mean, I just feel stupid because I could have just bought it there, but I didn't. And they're coming out with them in July, but already online, I'm seeing these trends that people that aren't Star Wars fans are buying them because they're similar to like the Star Wars version of that thing that everybody's into now. It's called like Labubu or whatever it's called. It's like the little monster thing, that keychains that people collect and they dress up.
Is everything being remade? Weren't those already a thing?
I don't know. They're just really hot right now. And I hate saying that phrase, but
Like
they are.
Namagashis or whatever? Remember those things?
No, not Tamagotchis. These are like little stuffed animal monster guys that people have different versions of them, and they're blind bags. And that was the other thing at the booth in Japan. They weren't blind bags. You could just buy whatever one you wanted. Now, when they come to America in July, they're a blind bag, so you don't know which one you're getting.
So what is it? A bag? Like you put things in it?
No, it's like a keychain, kind of. It's like this big. It's a keychain plush with the plastic face of the Ewok, and it just clips onto your bag. So I was like, I want one so bad. So I got one, and it should be here in July. So I'll have to show it on the show when I get it. But I'm excited because I'm like, oh, I can use this for the next celebration in 2 years.
Yeah, it's gonna come quick. But yeah, in terms of other feelings about this stuff, I mean, you brought up, Star Wars in the movies. Absolutely. Like once I saw that they were going back to making movies, I was just so excited for that because it really is that different feeling. Like when you walk into a theater to watch a new Star Wars movie, that feeling for me is not replicated by any other movie. And some have come close. Like I'm really excited for Superman next month. But Star Wars is just different. And then seeing it again and grabbing that friend who hasn't seen it yet and taking them and like seeing it multiple times as I always do. And like the whole experience of the build up to a Star Wars movie coming out. I'm so excited for that because I think in a weird way, the Mandalorian and Grogu is sort of flying under the radar a little bit. Like the Razor Crest is a little low. And I think that's a good thing because when the time comes to strike, whether that's Grogu ringing in the new year at Times Square as the movie's 5 months away, or Super Bowl and Grogu and Mando or something, like, that they know they have to go big with marketing on this because they saw what happened with Indiana Jones. When you try to rely on the logo and you try to rely on the old star or just the name of the brand, it isn't enough for people anymore. Now, Star Wars, maybe people will go just because, it's a new Star Wars movie, I'll go see it. But I do think that they're cognizant of reaction to recent movies that have come out, specifically like Indiana Jones and even like Mission Impossible. Like they marketed the hell out of that movie, and it's not breaking records. So it's like you just got to make sure you capture a moment with the zeitgeist and with the bubble of society who loves this stuff and make people feel like they don't want to be left out. Like the Mandalorian and Grogu is the thing. People are going to see the Mandalorian and Grogu. I'm going to see the Mandalorian and Grogu. Those are the people you need to get in. And I think I hope that that's what they aim to do, because we just saw recently, you know, Disney laid off hundreds of people and a lot of it was in marketing and stuff. Like, are they changing? Are they currently going through that? Because one of their biggest IPs and Marvel, one of their other IPs, have this gigantic slate of stuff that people are going to mock me for this. Can't miss.
I think you're going to see a lot of Grogu, a lot of the duck droid with the Anzellan on top of it walking around.
You need a lot of
that
Pedro,
stuff.
especially if
A lot of
Fantastic Four is
Pedro.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a
Yeah.
lot of that. But I mean, we're just at this kind of, I guess you would say, like pause button period for Star Wars, or like pending, like a buffer symbol, buffering,
The stuff's being
loading.
cooked. It's currently
Yeah.
being made. Yeah, it's in the kitchen. It's not ready yet. But the fact that Mando and Grogu's done filming, you know, it's just good to know that a Star Wars movie is absolutely arriving.
And there's
on
something else getting
schedule
filmed this fall.
next
We're going
May.
to get
And yeah,
updates about it.
Ahsoka's filming right now. And we didn't really talk too much about Ahsoka, so maybe spend just a couple quick minutes on it. And we'll
Sure.
talk more about the Maul series. Like, I am getting more and more excited about that series the more I hear about it, but we need more details on it. But the Ahsoka series, you know, with the Hound from Game of Thrones stepping in and hearing his thoughts about it, and how Dave, you know, was so emotional talking about making the decision and knowing he had to carry on with the character. I am excited to see where they go with Ahsoka, because especially if Dave Filoni's getting promoted again, his movie's gonna happen eventually. So you and I keep talking about, we love Star Wars going back to the movies. If we're watching Ahsoka season 2, knowing that is likely going to be a springboard into that next movie, we're sort of getting the reverse Andor Rogue One thing, where we're getting the Andor first, and then we're gonna get the Rogue One, which is the Dave Filoni verse Ahsoka Rebels Thrawn mega movie. Yeah. So the fact that they're filming that now is really cool, and I'm sure we'll get more nuggets about, you know, who's starring in this one, what other characters are going to creep in. Is Carson Teva going to show up? And are we going to get some, you know, new interesting characters like we were introduced to in season 1? So a lot to be excited for, a lot to be happy about, and a lot to look forward towards. And I think it's an interesting time to be a Star Wars fan, because we have stuff that's locked in that we know is happening. We also have uncertainty about, you know, who's going to be in charge. When we talked about the rumors, so those reports, if that's true, that's true. But it is definitely an interesting time, and Star Wars has a lot of good things coming. So I am excited about that.
Me
If
too.
we
And
were doing this and there were no movies being filmed or anything, I'd be having a rough time being positive. But the fact
we'd
that
be like,
they are, the only thing is, the Rey movie, I'm getting nervous, Lacey. I'm getting a little worried.
I am nervous about that because we haven't heard much about it. Yeah. And then the fact that they pivoted Shawn Levy, they kind of like frog jumped the Rey movie with the Shawn Levy one, because we initially were like, oh, Shawn Levy's not doing Avengers. He must be doing the Rey movie.
That's the Deadpool and Wolverine leapfrog.
Yeah.
I just made $1 billion movie leapfrog.
We'll see how it goes. I'm going to still say be positive, because you and I both agree on this. I know you've said it probably more eloquently than I would, which is that Rey is kind of she's the hero of the next generation of Star Wars fans. Like, she's their Luke Skywalker. So you can't ignore her. You can't put her on the back burner. Like, she is what's next. In Daisy's, and this isn't, she's younger than me, but she's only going to get older. So you got to plan accordingly. Not that she doesn't look amazing. She's beautiful. But yeah, I get a little worried, I guess. And then the other thing I didn't mention, which I am crossing my fingers for, which they haven't made an announcement yet, but based on how much money they've made off these screenings, I think they're going to do a TFA screening for the 10th anniversary.
A re-release?
Yeah, and I'm going, even if it's by myself.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. I'd be down with that.
Nice.
We'll see. We'll see if they do that. And I remember you and I believe when we were doing our predictions for Star Wars Celebration Japan, I think I said, or you said, or we both sort of came to the thought that they have to at least mention the Rey movie.
And they didn't.
And
Did they?
didn't, and I don't think they. Well, at least not on the main stage. Maybe in an interview they mentioned Charmin Obey-Chinoy in the movie, and
Because
they're
people
still working on
said
it. But
they said that they did mention James Mangold's movie during the panel.
yeah, I don't know that they mentioned the Ray movie, and that made me a little nervous when Celebration came and went, and there was no real talk about it because at your previous celebration, you brought her back on stage, and it's like you cannot. There's no going back from that. You
She
can't
was the
not make this
ending
movie.
moment.
So
Yeah. Oh
yeah,
god.
but overall, feeling good about what's to come. 2025 is going to be more of a hype year for 2026, which is going to be a huge year heading into the 50th anniversary and all that's to come there. So, next State of Star Wars might heat up a bit more as we learn more about the Mandalorian and Grogu, as by that point,
And Starfighter.
it'll be like 8 months away. Yeah,
Mm.
and then before we know it, we have all these amazing things coming out on all sides: TV live action, TV animated, movies. They're hitting us from all facets, and I'm sure video games aren't far behind. So we'll check in with those. But I believe that's it. So, did you have any other elements you wanted to toss out there on the State of
No, but
Star
I'm
Wars?
excited to see what everybody else thought.
Let's do it.
All right, guys, time for resistance transmissions, which you guys love this segment. I love this segment. So,
Good segment.
generally speaking, how this works is John puts up a crazy, wacky situation on social media, and you guys give your answers. But from my understanding at the beginning of this episode, before John and I started recording, he said it is not a crazy, wacky situation. It's more like your thoughts. But I still love it because we hear from you guys. And that's why I love this segment so much. It's my favorite segment we've ever done. So let's get into it. So the scenario is now it's time to hear from you, in all caps, out there in the resistance for your thoughts on the state of Star Wars. So first up is More 5150 at More 5150. What up, man? He said the critical successes of both Skeleton Crew and Andor Season 2 keep the good times rolling for Star Wars fans. The hope is that the Mando and Grogu will keep things moving in the right direction into Ahsoka Season 2 and more updates on some films.
Say it, buddy.
Say it with your whole chest. More 5150. Vikesh at Vikesh. What up? Said, I know Lucasfilm are pivoting to movies now, but it would be nice to keep at least one event television series or mini series a year, whether animated or live action. Hopefully the Maul show has multiple seasons in it and can include some Kira. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping for that too. I'd love to see more Kira, although you know how we feel here. Make Solo 2 happen. We want more Kira on live action screen, but we will also take animated Kira.
Yeah, and the other thing on that, we didn't really talk about it before, was it seems like if they're pivoting to movies and they still want to make live action, they're going to see how the movies do and what they could pull from the movies to make shows off of that. So they're going back to the movies feeding the shows, sort of the way Marvel did it. So I think
we didn't
more
talk
shows
about
will
Lando,
come,
but there's no Lando update, so
it's not feeling good about Lando right now. Yeah.
Next is Shadow Gear and Amulet at shadowgear.bsky.social. What up? They said, like, what's coming up on the movie and TV side of things? Mando, Starfighter, Maul, Ahsoka, as well as the publishing side with that new Finn book. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
The new
yeah.
Finn book. Love the cover of this book. Coming out, giving us a post-Rise of Skywalker storyline. Love that. Next is Physics Buddy Joe. What up, Joe? At physicsbuddyjoe.bsky.social. Says Star Wars is on the right path, equally filling the buckets of fandom. The comics, books, kids shows, teen shows, adult shows, lore shows, and giving us movies that everyone can enjoy. As long as every piece continues to add flavor to the saga, I'll be watching. Agreed.
Well
I'll never
put,
not.
Joe.
Yeah, I'll never not watch Star Wars. Even if I am not the biggest fan, I'll still watch it. Last but not least is Brad. What up, Brad? At B Montessier. Beautiful last name. .bluesky.social. What up, Brad? He said these seasonal temperature readings always represent you guys at your best. Oh, thanks,
you,
Brad.
man. Thank you, Brad.
Is Star Wars giving me what I individually want? After Andor, it's hard to say so, but big picture, the franchise has a big sandbox to play with the Mandoverse. The direction needs to be clear and coherent. Big year in 26.
It
100%.
is.
26 is
Absolutely.
going to be a banger.
Yeah. People still saying banger?
I am.
All right.
I will be. Nope, not yet. I was like, will I be 40 in 26? I will not. I will not be 40 in 26.
I will.
Oh, okay. I'm going to be a nice, cool 25.
All right. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, so much. More Resistance transmissions coming. We'll get some crazy, wacky ones going, but let us know what you think about the show. Our thoughts on those news stories, topped off at the top with the Mikey Madison. Then, obviously, we talked about Andor, the budget, Mark Hamill saying goodbye, Carrie, Beck, and Filoni maybe taking the lead, and then the state of Star Wars. What's your state of Star Wars? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Hit us up in the TRB Discord server. If you're on our Patreon, please join. That'd be awesome. Thank you for the support. And just let us overall know what you think of the episode, and keep looking for our prompts, because we're always going to be looking for questions on social media or Resistance transmissions and stuff like that. And then last but not least, follow us on social media at TRB Podcasts across all social media accounts. And then Lacey, we didn't say at the top, but happy Pride Month to everyone in the LGBTQ community, in the Resistance. We have so many amazing people in that community, in our community, and to anybody else out there in the community, happy Pride Month out there.
Love that. TRB. Happy Pride Month, guys, ladies, friends.
And a big, oh, sorry, Lacey.
I said guys, ladies, friends.
Oh, yes. Sorry. And then we have to give a special shout out to our generals and spice runners over on Patreon. They're holding it down for us. Thank you all so much. And however you support TRB, of course, but big shout out to the generals: Carmelo, John Reese, Jed Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, Danny, Mike Ramori, Brendan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra, Dave Hornack, Colin Cormier, Stephen Garrow, Sachi, Darth Snips, and Armen Rojas. And the Spice Runners: David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gellner, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, the Fort Worthian, and Brian Smith. Thank you all so much for all of your support. Lacey, where can people hit you up to talk about all the stuff we talked about on this episode of TRB?
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gilleran, and on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran. And you can see John's awesome Japan shirt on YouTube.
Yes, I got the Kylo Ren one.
I'm so jealous. I should have gotten that shirt.
And I'm not a merch guy, and I never bought from the VIP store before, or like even shopped in the store. And then this time I was like, I gotta get something.
I have so many regrets about Japan. It's not buying things.
We'll pick that up next time.
No.
But yeah, at Lacey Gilleran, you already gave that, right?
Yeah.
All right. And then for me, you could find me on Blue Sky, Johnny Hoey, X on at Johnny Hoey, and my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. We're doing Tom Cruise next. We're doing Collateral. Check it out. But that's it for us. We'll be back with you next week with another episode, maybe a discussion, maybe news. We'll see what happens. Will we learn more about this Carrie, Beck, Dave Filoni story? That and more, as always, with you here on TRB. And then, of course, Monday, Nerdy and Nice. A lot to talk about on there as well. So enjoy it as summer heats up. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next time right here on the Resistance broadcast. See you around, kids.